Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Hunting Podcast. I'm AJ Cox. Sitting with me, as always, is Levi Mason. If you want to see what we got going on, make sure you go through, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. You can find us all by just looking up the Hunted Podcast. This episode is brought to you, as always, by Rec Broadheads, Wild Oak Whitetails Buck Lure, Dominant Strands Bowstrings, ECW Hunting Calls, Morath Welding, Hex, Nature Made Jewelry, Natural Land Realty, Backwood Premium Wildlife Products, and then not a sponsor, but if you want to go through and get a hat, I'm trying to talk with George a little bit, but I think he's down with it. Go through, we can get probably some t-shirts, some sweatshirts from him, and everything with our logo on there. That kind of, helps us out a little bit. I'm not going to go through and do my big spiel as I usually do with each and every single sponsor that we have, just because I want to get into this with Lewis on here from Dominant Strands. But I will say that every single one of our sponsors, man, you need to go through and go check them out. All of them in some way, shape, or form are getting bigger, getting better, and things like that. And Dominant Strands is no exception to the rule. We're going to go through and talk about some of that with Lewis. So before we get to that, we're going to just go quickly into our first responder military shout out. I know Lewis is right there with us, but we cannot thank first responders, military enough for everything that they did, for what they go through. If they did, sadly enough, they had to, gave up their life for us to go through and talk about hunting and just be, even though it's straight chaos right now, the wonderful, great country that we are right now and have been, and we're going to keep going that way. Lewis is no exception, but, some people come back and they need our help and everything. So, through like the VA and things like that. So do not, and I repeat again, do not feel like you can't go through. If you see somebody out and about, military, first responder, tell them thank you. It's a huge, great, I guess, relief kind of deal, especially with our crazy world we got going on now for that. I know with me being an officer, when somebody comes up and says, thank you for what you do. I mean, even though I'm from a little nothing town, I mean, we go through and we see some stuff, and things like that. I know other people from around here, they've served in the military and they've went across and, as they say, beyond the wire and things like that. And they've seen stuff. So again, go through, say thank you so much to these people. It means more than you know. So we're just going to go through and give a few moments here, moments of silence for the people that have sadly given their life for us to be free. All right. And with that being said, if you're listening to this and you have somebody that you want to say thank you to, or a branch or a service or a police department, a fire department, or something just in general, I mean, feel free to go through and let us know. Big things happen all the time, even in little nothing neighborhoods. So we would be more than happy to go through and tell them thank you for you, or if you just want to go through and just give a very vague kind of a situation stuff and not have your name out there, we'll go through and do that. So, all right, we're going to dig right into this. If you guys haven't listened before, Lewis was kind enough to go through and be on episode 2 with us, and that was, Levi, that was about a year ago, man.
Yeah.
We've been going through and kicking through this, and I want to say something, like they haven't kicked us off the air yet, but you know what? Nobody really can. We can do whatever we want, and we're going to keep going and doing the things that we want.
It's all that matters.
That is all that matters. So a very vague, big question for you, Lewis. I guess go through and just kind of real briefly tell us how ATA went. I know me and you kind of talked about it a little bit, made some good connections, rubbed some elbows with some right people and things like that. But instead of me talking for you, I'll let you do your own talking.
Well, that, is, I don't know how to put this, but
very difficult for you to talk.
Sure, yeah. I'm speechless. Anybody that knows me knows that's not true. But no, ATA went very well, very, very well. Of course, we didn't do a booth, but we went down and met with some of our clients and met with some companies and things that we needed to touch base with and put some things in motion. And I really like where we're headed with some things. Of course, we're not trying to be the biggest boy on the block, but we want to continue to grow and continue to do what we do and do it at a high quality. And so by continuing to control our growth and continuing to do it at our own pace, that allows us to continue to do it with a lot of quality and put quality and customer service first above all else. So everything I'm hearing back from the dealers and vendors is that and customers is they're digging what we're putting out there and they're happy with it. And so as long as I keep hearing that, we'll keep doing what we're doing. So,
which me and Levi were talking earlier just a little bit. I can't even remember what we were talking about, but he said was talking about customer service and things like that. And I mean that really is a big thing. I know me and you've talked about that before, to where people kind of, I don't know, outgrow.
It's such a lost art.
Yeah, they outgrow their britches a little bit, and they're more of just wanting to pump stuff out and have it this and have it that, and they don't care that these 40 people are pissed off because they just went through and sold to 10,000 people. And,
right.
And we know firsthand through dealing with you that is, you said it's a lost art, and it is not, absolutely not lost on you.
Right. At the end of the day, it's plain and simple. I'm not worried about. While I'm in business to make money, don't get me wrong, I'm not looking to be a billionaire or anything like that. I just want to, I'm more concerned with my name as far as Dominant Strands is concerned, and that, we build a reputation for quality and customer service, and that above all else. And if that means that, at the end of the day, we make a little less money today than we could because we pumped out an extra couple sets of strings, but at the end of the day, that means that our customer service was above and excelled. We'll make that back in the long run, and I'd much rather do that and have happy customers than destroy our reputation, destroy the name that we've built because we pumped out an extra couple sets today. Because in the long run, it'll work itself out, I'd much rather do that.
Oh yeah, so. Absolutely. I mean, I know, even though you're not a big, I guess I'd say social savvy, you're probably actually one of the few people that are worse than Levi and I on it. But I mean, even with anything.
That hurt.
But all it takes is that one person to go through and say, Lewis sucked. I tried to call him with this and that, and it wasn't good. And, and then it just almost just goes through and it just starts avalanching down,
Absolutely.
And it does the same thing for, positive stuff, which kind of takes me into a little sidetrack here. I know you can't really talk about it, but me and you've had some conversations, but I mean, just even the positive, people, hey, I know a guy. I mean, that's already beginning of the year helping you out already.
Best form of advertising is word of mouth.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. And that's the thing is most people don't realize that we don't put a lot of money into, we haven't put any money to speak of into advertising as far as we don't sponsor paid shooters. We don't sponsor big names. We don't sponsor that kind of stuff in the normal forms that you see. So what that has done is instead of charging exorbitant numbers for our strings, we're able to focus on keeping our prices lower and taking that money and putting that money into our builds, our people, our customers, instead of paying somebody to tout our strings and tout our name and then forget the customers.
Right.
So we build that reputation with the customers and our dealers and let them speak for our strengths. Let them speak for our customer service. Let them push our name out there and be our marketing. Let them be our advertisement, because that grassroots, that base advertisement does more for us. That slow growth, albeit, most people want to blow up and be big tomorrow. and that's great and all, but it just doesn't. You see a lot of companies explode overnight and then disappear.
Oh,
Explode
exactly.
overnight and then disappear. And if you really stop and think about it, like we've talked in the previous podcasts and stuff like that. I've been around the industry for a long time, and I've seen a lot of companies come and go, and a lot of shops come and go, and the ones that stick around, the ones that last the longest, are the ones that build a reputation. They build it slow and steady, and they build that customer base, that loyal fan base that does not leave, because they know this is the kind of quality they're going to get. And I've got dealers, like we were at ATA, and Nicole's going to probably, if she ever listens to this podcast by chance, she's going to kill me for this, but I've got a dealer in Iowa that she calls me Sweets, and she picks up the phone, and I had never met her in person. We had had conversations on Facebook before they ever became a dealer. She finally, her rep had shot my strings and had told her and her husband, "You need to bring this guy in your shop. His strings are second to none. You really need to look at this guy." And they kind of balked a little bit because my strings were not the cheapest on the market. They weren't the most expensive on the market, but they weren't the cheapest. And they live in an area where some of their clientele were a little inclined to not spend the money. And she was afraid that they would price out and she wouldn't sell them. And so she balked a little bit. And then the opportunity came, and she needed some help with something, and I was able to help them out. And so they took the dive and they jumped in and they bought strings from me. Well, phone conversations ensued. Long story short, we built a reputation and they were happy. We get to ATA, and she has one of those voices that and personalities is just bigger than life.
Right.
So we get to ATA, and I've got my back to her, and I'm at the shooting booth at down by Bear, and she comes walking down. She's talking to somebody else over at the actual Bear booth, which is across the way. And I hear her voice, and I'm like, I hear Nicole. And I turn, and I'm like, yep, that's Nicole. And like I said, never met her in person. So I go walking across, and of course, I've got a Dominant Strands hat on. And, she looks up and make eye contact, and she goes, "Sweets!" and screams it at the top of her lungs. And everybody in the building has to know, they heard it. And, but this woman, more than once throughout the show in different places in the building, would see me talking to somebody, and she would overhear the conversation about strings, and she would stop and be like, we use this guy in our shop. We finally took the plunge. We finally brought this guy into our shop, and we love it. We will never go back. This guy, for this reason. I know that another company that they had done business with actually called them and said, "We were a little worried you went out of business because you weren't doing as much business with us." And she's like, "Actually, sorry, but it's because of this, and it's because he does the little things that you guys don't do, and and he's a veteran, and and the customer service and everything else." And they were like, "Oh," and I mean, they weren't upset, they weren't mad, they were just like, "Oh." And she's like, "Sorry," and they're like, "Oh no, it's okay," and they went on. But she, that right there, that reputation that you build with those dealers, she's the greatest asset I could ever have.
Oh, absolutely.
Because that's the best advertisement in the world right there. I don't need to pay a marketing director. I don't need to pay a high paid sponsor, because the next guy that comes along and pays them money, they're going to jump ship. But she's never jumping ship. As long as I take care of her and I build good strings, that woman right there is going to, her and her husband are going to continue. And I've got half a dozen other dealers like that, or a dozen other dealers like that. And everybody in their shop that shoots those strings is doing the same thing. That was what ATA was like for me. That was walking around ATA and getting to hear people go, "Hey," Joey and I took a picture going to ATA of the two of us in the car. I snapped a picture. We were getting ready to, I had stopped to get fuel and a drink, and took a picture. Joey's passed out in the passenger seat. We walk up to the check-in at ATA, and some guy goes, "Hey, you must be the one that was asleep in the passenger seat." Joey's like, "What?" They're like, "Dominant Strands, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And the guy's like, "We follow you on Facebook." And I'm like, oh wow, people
That's
actually
awesome.
follow us. Like, I
Right.
mean, yeah. So that's what ATA was like for us, and that's the greatest testament to the marketing of not having to do that. And
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to spend billions of dollars if you do it the right way.
Oh, I wholeheartedly agree with you. I mean, I tell people all the time, they'll come up and they'll say, hey, I got this bow. It's about X, Y, and Z old. Can you look at it for me and this and that? And I mean, I'm more than happy to go through, hook them up, help them out, get them this and that. Sometimes I'm like, oh, you'll probably get through this year and blah, 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 blah. But I know, I mean, I'm not going to speak for Levi, but I know that I tell people all the time about your strings, and then just our conversations on like how important, which I mean, if you think about it, your strings are so important on your bow. I mean, it's what's holding it together. So if you're going
Right.
through and you're getting these low end strings and this and that, and it's just not going to work out for you, or if you go through and buy the top notch this and that, and you're calling and you're talking to a recording and you can't hear back from somebody for X, Y, and Z, and I'm just speaking from experience for myself, like when I was going through and having problems with my bow, dude, I called you before me and you even become like as good as friends as we are. I mean, it was
Right.
I mean, dude, you were bending over backwards for me trying to come up with ideas and help me out. And I mean, you saved me probably days on days on days, because if I took it to a bow shop around here, they're going to have my bow for days and days and days. And if it's, I mean, my 2 cents, if it wasn't a quick fix, it was probably going to come back to me and be like, hey, man, there's nothing I can do. I don't know what to tell you. But like I said, I'm not
Well,
not going to speak for Levi, but dude, I know that personally I am more than happy that you took the plunge and sponsoring us and taking the risk and everything like this. I mean, you've been nothing but kind to the two of us,
you guys have been amazing too. So
and that's
I've been glad I did it. So
and that's going to be one of those things to where, I mean, if Levi comes to me and says, hey man, we got this other string company trying to call me, we might have to, the hunted might have to go to just and he can take the hunted part, because we might have to separate our ways.
I'd never do that to Lewis. Dude, you've been great. I tell a lot of people that ask about strings. I'm like, hey, go back and listen to episode 2. Mm-hmm. It will enlighten you on strings with just all the knowledge that you spoke about in that episode. I mean, it was just crazy, there's so many people out there that just leave their bow in the case all year,
mm-hmm.
and then September 1 hits. Oh, time to go out and start practicing finally, and their string's trashed, and they're panicking. What do I do? And
that's the thing, is that's a drop in the ocean. I mean, we could spend hours and hours and hours delving down the rabbit hole, and in all reality, and there's some new stuff even coming down that pipeline of things we're doing, and
mm-hmm.
I think Levi doesn't. I don't know if you've AJ have told that
I've
Levi
briefly filled him in
what we've discussed.
Yeah,
but of course we dropped Predator strain at ATA, and that was about a year process in the making of working with that. It's not a new material per se, but it's a new process that I had been refining and working on. I'm not gonna sugarcoat and try to blow smoke. I'm not a smoke and mirrors guy. I'm not gonna stand here and tell you that we invented some grand scheme that is so much better than the next thing or something like that. It's basically the same build we've been doing. I added a few steps to it to change a little bit of what I was seeing. It's that same thing that you talk about, that I'm never happy. I'm one of those guys that is constantly looking for, what can I do better? What can I fix? What in this isn't quite right? Like, you've brought your bow to me, and I'm never happy. Your bow is shooting fine, but I'm looking for something.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, no, I can get a little more. I can get it. You're setting the peep, and you're like, yeah, that's good. I'm like, no, it's not. It's not quite right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tweaking just a little further. I'm always looking for something. And so with like the Predator strain, it was 99% of our builds with 452X. it's such a low creep, such a low stretch material that with the way we build, 99% of our strings were going to our dealers. They were getting a 50 to 60 shot, and then maybe 1% of those builds. And when you're talking about the number of strings we were building in a year, 1% is, you know, that's all. To me, it's a huge number. To everybody else, it's such a minuscule number. But to me, that's a lot. And that's the difference maybe between me and most other people, is that to me, 1% is too much. 1/1000th of a percent is too much. But anything less than zero or more than zero is too much. And so when I know that there's a string out there that in that 50 to 60 shot range, it turned a 16th of an inch on a peep, or the timing came out a 16th to an eighth of an inch, and you had to tweak it, and then it never moves again for the life of that string, I'm not okay with that. Because that's not perfect.
And I mean, I don't know. Whoever listens to this, if they are just kind of these, weekend warriors, as they say, go out and pick up a bow and go and stuff and this and that. But I've dabbled quite a bit with bows. I know Levi's dabbled quite a bit with bows. But I mean, a 16th of an inch being off or twisting, or especially with like your timing or your peep rolling just that little bit. I mean, dude, you pull back and you go to let her rip, and it's not. Like you're saying, like less than zero right there. I mean, that very well could make or break your hunt. I mean, realistically. So
absolutely, it does. A 16th of an inch in that world is a mile downrange, and so that to me is not okay. And so in most people's world, though, that if it does that in that 50 to 60 shot range, and then you tweak it, they call that the break-in, and that's acceptable, and it's okay. And then if it never does it again, it's okay. And that's our standard double helix shot. That was normal. That was okay, and everybody's happy with that. Like that's pretty good. And we saw a lot of those strings, but I wanted to find a way to get better. And so with the Predator strain, we were able to take and tweak that build just a little bit, burnish out a little more of that wax, get BCY to send me material with a lower wax count, and then what that allows us to do is get that bundle that much tighter, that much smoother when we lay it together, and then get it that much tighter when we serve it. And then so when you pull that bow back, when you put that tension in that bundle, that break-in period's gone. So we were able to take that 1% break-in period of that. So if we were sending 100 strings out, one of them might have that break-in period. One. Well, most guys think, well, that's okay. So 99 of them were good and never had that break-in period. That's pretty good. I'm like, yeah, but one of them out there did.
That was good. Yeah, unless you're that one guy.
Yeah, and that one guy was still okay with it because he's like, okay, so I walked back in my shop. They put a little twist in my string, and I went back to shooting it, and I never had a problem again, and I'm okay with that. And no, they weren't. That's within the spec. That's within our warranty, and that's okay. But I wanted to find a way to get rid of that if I could. So I'm searching for a way. So we talked to a couple other builders. I talked to some friends of mine in the industry, and through some brainstorming and tweaking of builds, and hey, what are you doing? Have you done this? Have you tried that? What about this? And we know that wax is our friend, but it's also our enemy.
Yeah.
Wax is good because it keeps the moisture in the string, but it can also be your enemy when it's inside the bundle, because that's what actually is creating some of that movement. As that wax is on that string, when you lay that bundle together, then when you later put the bundle together, as it every time it tensions, that wax that's in between those strands works its way out. That's what causes the bundle, as it settles against each other, that's what causes that break-in period, that little settle, as that wax works its way out. And so, okay, well, what if we can get that wax out of there? What if we can find a way to get that bundle to sit to start with? So, okay, low wax material, varnish it out of there, so if we run it at a higher tension, what if we do this? So we found ways to try to do that, and I found it. I found a way that I was pretty comfortable, wasn't harming the material, but was allowing us to do that, and then we could recoat the bundle with wax once we had it, but we're not coating underneath of the serving, so there's no wax underneath this. There's no extra wax underneath the serving material, so you're not seeing the serving slippage. The serving can grip on the material better, and then you're still getting the protection you need, and yet you're getting the performance during. And that break-in period went to literally like tenths of a percent,
right? Which
of a percent of a tenth.
And going back,
like,
I just wanted to interrupt.
The material is fallible. Go ahead.
I just wanted to go like the serving slipping. So if anybody's listening to this, I mean, I know, and I mean, I don't know all about strings. I mean, you know more probably in your little finger than about strings than we do. But I just wanted to go through and say, like, so correct me if I'm wrong, that slipping is like when you start looking at your serving and you see gap in there. Like you can start seeing the color of your string. And when you start seeing color of your string, every time your bow gets pulled back and gets shot, you're slipping that serving, and then it's just going to keep rubbing and rubbing and rubbing in your cams.
Right.
And then that's where, heaven forbid, like that's where a start of a malfunction can go through, because it's going to start wearing into that string.
Right. Yes and no. So what's happening is a couple of things. One, the wax gets in between the serving and the material, and then what it does is it works its way up between it and causes some gappage. The other, and it causes that serving to not be able to grip the material, for one. So it'll do that. And then the other reason it'll do it is because it's kind of like the laps on a track, the lanes on a track. The serving when it and the material when that wraps around like the really tight bend on a cam, when you have a really tight bend, the material and the serving going around the inside doesn't have to travel the same distance that the material on the outside does. So when it wraps that really tight, if that serving isn't really tight, it will slide on the material, and that's what causes that. And then when it goes back together, that material bunches up and the wax bunches up between the serving and doesn't allow it to slip back together. So what happens is that's how you get that material bunching up between. So what's actually happening at that point is the material is bunching up in between the serving. And that's why you can see your material in between there.
I got you.
Well, if you get that serving to grip tight enough, you can just about eliminate that. Well, part of that has to do with that wax content. And so there's some things coming through the pipeline that may help with that as well. There's some stuff that hopefully I'll be able to talk about shortly that may solve some of that even. And if that comes out, there'll be some more things to talk about. There might be a Predator 2.0 coming soon.
I like the sound of that.
Maybe something else, if you have talked to me or listened to me on some podcasts or whatever, you'll know real quick that I'm never happy with, if there's any percent chance of something not being perfect, I'm looking for a way to fix that percent chance. That even if it's a tenth of a thousandth of a percent, I'm looking for it.
And I know some people are probably sitting here thinking this too. So from going from your double helix to your Predator, I would say more of a peace of mind, to know that everything's done tight, done right, and everything. About how much extra would you give a ballpark of, like, that's going to cost you?
$20.
$20. So I know we talked about this earlier. That's why I brought it up. So to me, $20 more to go through, to know that your break-in time's less. It's not going to get this roll. It's not going to get this. And it's going. You're getting a little bit more bang for your buck, dude. I mean, especially for all the money that we go through and throw into this hunting world and everything like this. I don't even know if $20 is a drop in a bucket.
Yep.
You know,
The one and only negative is that we only offer Predator at this point in the camo speckle only, because that happens to be the color that I can control that content in. We're working towards the ability to kind of control it in some others. The way that the material is colored is with wax. So like your high vis colors, like your flow yellow, your flow orange, your flow green, your fluorescent colors especially, are high wax content. So even when we order them in a low wax content material, an ultra low wax content material like the Predator Strain stuff that we build, that material is just going to be higher wax. It's going to have a higher wax content than any other material in that build. So if I were to order, say, 452X low wax flow yellow and compare it to camo speckle 452X low wax, the wax content in those two are going to be vastly different. So the thickness, the diameter, the wax content is going to be different. And so with that, I'm not comfortable saying that I can get the flow yellow to react the same way that I get the camo speckle to. It's why we don't build Predator Strain in flow yellow. So that's why Predator Strain is only offered in certain color. So it has to do with, this is the only color that we currently feel we can guarantee this is what we can get it to do. While at the same time, I can tell you that I have a outfitter who is attached to some pretty big names in the industry, who's connected me to some of those names, and we've got a couple of them that are coming on board to shoot our strings that they're going to let their names be known soon enough. But they have shot. David prefers to shoot flow yellow strings and can't get him off of it. That's what he likes. That's his color. And I've told him that, flow yellow can be probably one of your more harder to control colors. And he looks at me every time and says, well, from you, I've had zero problem, man. So what's your problem? And I'm like, all right, man, I can't argue with you.
Right. I'm just trying to help you. I'm just trying to help you.
I can't argue with him when at the same time he looks at me and says, yeah, but you build it and I don't have a problem. Okay.
Right.
So,
because on the same boat with that, I know once me and Levi put those on our strings, I don't know if you had any problems at all with yours.
None.
Yeah. I've had to put maybe a little, when I went down to Lewis, he had to twist the string a little bit or pull, do this and this, but that's all it is. And then I believe we talked about this last time too, but I know that, my bow's an older bow and your bow's a handful of years old.
Yeah, a couple years old.
And dude, mine's shooting way quieter.
Yeah. Mine's quieter. It's just shooting like a top. If God forbid anything ever happens, but the bow is performing just top notch. I know when I draw that bow back, something is dying. Bottom line, as long as I do my part, my equipment's doing its part, the string's doing its part. Like we were talking about earlier on price point on everything. If $20, there's so many links in the chain of a successful hunt. Are you going to risk it for over $20?
And it's one of those things, $20, don't go to McDonald's this week.
Exactly.
There you go. There's your $20. But right. I know we've told about this, and then a buddy of mine, JT, who he got a hold of you and stuff one time, and he went through and he had an old bear, I believe it was, and he shot his the first time. And we just looked at each other, and he's like, dude, that bow is so much quieter, and for whatever reason, it felt better. Because I believe, just like Levi was saying, everything was where it was supposed to be, what it was supposed to do. And that's just, with your regular double helix and stuff. So I know I'm excited to see, what the Predator Strand is going to do. Predator Strand 2.0, 2.275, 3, however it goes from there. I know that
I had a guy from up around the Galesburg area that had a bow. He was ready to get rid of it. He was straight up gonna get a new bow.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, that's fine. I'll sell you a new bow. I got no problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
We carry bear in the shop. We're not actually a bow shop, but we do carry bear because of me being a bear shooter.
Mm-hmm.
And we have that relationship with bear. But, you know, I have no problem with doing that. However, why don't you let me, you know, what's wrong with the bow? And he told me, you know, well, it just seems loud. And he's like, there's something wrong with it. And I said, well, when was, you know, I asked him a few basic questions. And one of those questions was, when was the last time you had strings put on it? He's like, well, they're factory. And the bow's like, you know, 8, 9 years old. And I went, I tell you what, let me put strings on it. And he's like, well, that's how much is that going to cost me? I said, I tell you what, let me put strings on it. If it doesn't fix the bow, I will sell you a bow and I won't charge you for the strings. If it fixes it and you're happy with it, you just pay for the strings.
And
He's like,
you're saving
okay.
Lord knows how much money.
And you're saving yourself some money.
Yeah.
If not, buy a bow. I don't care. I'll make money either way,
Mm-hmm.
and what I make off the bow will more than cover the strings. And if not, you know, it'll work out. It'll be fine. But I'm got a pretty good idea. I think I know what's wrong with this bow, and I want to try something. So just humor me and let me do this. He's like, all right, whatever. So I built a set of strings for it, and he came in and I was like, here, shoot it. And he shot it, and he did exactly like what you're talking about with JT. He looked at me and went, no way. I'm like, so are we doing a new bow, or are you just buying strings today? He goes, what do I owe you for these strings? And he's like, this thing's like a whole new bow. And that's the thing most people don't understand. They think just because the string didn't break that it's not broke down. Guys, your string is breaking down from the minute that it goes on your bow.
Mm-hmm.
From the minute that string material is being pulled off that spool and put under tension and put it in under serving and put on a bow, that material is breaking down. And that material goes on your bow, it's under tension. Even when it's in its relaxed state at rest, not being drawn, it's still under tension.
Mm-hmm.
And that material is breaking down. And so the manufacturers will still tell you 2 to 3 years that material has hit its peak. It's done. It's gone. While it's not breaking and it's not going to explode, and you can probably shoot 4, 5, 6, 7 years. I've seen guys talk about getting 10 out of them. The material doesn't have that bounce back. It doesn't have that elasticity that it had. You know, it's just like us guys.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't bounce back like I used to when I was 17. You know, sure you guys don't either. And so
I speak for yourself. We're fine pieces of fitness over here.
Yeah. I'm not even gonna go there. You know about my medical stuff, so I'm not even gonna go there.
Yeah.
But it's just strictly the fact that, you know, it's just like an oil change in your car. If you don't maintain your bow, if you don't maintain your equipment, it will fail you and guys, it's going to fail you at the most inopportune moment. So don't take that chance. It's just not worth it.
I think that's a great way of thinking about it, because I know, and I mean, I'm no guru by any means, but like talking in the hunting world, you know, I get people and friends and, you know, they'll come up and they'll talk to me about certain things and stuff. And I'm always trying to, I guess, quote unquote, dumb it down. Like make it real simple, but
Right.
like you're changing the oil thing, dude, that just set a light bulb. And I'm like, dude, that's a very, very good way of changing it. You know, could you go through and drive your car another 2,000-3,000 miles on the regular oil that you got, you know, and this and that? Yeah, absolutely you could, but your car's going to run better. Just, you know, same thing with the strings. And I mean, again, going through, you know, like you're saying with all the high tension in here and even for the people that only shoot, you know, on the weekends, and like Levi was saying, they pull their bow out in September and shoot, you know, they don't understand that like 100% there's tension on that string all the time. And I mean, especially nowadays, I mean, what do we blow our money on? You know, on stupid shit all the time. You know, I mean,
all the time.
But I mean, go through and sit aside and go, dude, you know, if I go through and get this and that, and if it's something that, I mean, I'm sure you can get all down scientific into it and stuff, but like if you can go through and you hear some testimonies of some people saying, Dude, I bought these strings and I put them on there, and just like Levi said, like it was like a brand new bow. Instead of going through and spending, even your lower end bows are $500-600, and if
Right.
you're shooting a high end top performance or whatever, you're looking at $1,000 or more. So why,
Right.
like you were saying with that guy, why would you not go through and throw some strings on there?
Well, and I'm not telling you don't buy a new bow either,
Well,
because there
right,
are instances where that can be the better recommendation, depending on the age of the bow
right.
and the condition of the bow and things like that. But at the same time, it's just like, like I said, oil change or
Mm-hmm.
tires on your car. There are certain maintenance things that you need to do on a regular basis to maintain your vehicle so that it works at peak performance. Like you said, if you can get an extra, you can skip an oil change and it's not going to blow your car up per se, but what you don't see is the reduced fuel mileage you're
Mm-hmm.
getting, and you don't see the damage that long term it may do in that car. If you had maintained it and done every oil change and every filter change that you were supposed to do on time, you might have got 500,000 miles out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, you're only going to get 300,000 miles out of it or 200,000 miles out of it before that engine blows, because you didn't change the oil but every other time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, same thing with your bow. If you're not doing the maintenance things you should do, your bow isn't performing, excuse me, at its peak. And the whole thing comes down to, when you get to the point in time where you are drawn down on that animal of a lifetime, if you don't have that, what's the word I'm looking for, that trust in your bow to do what it's supposed to do, or it fails because you didn't do the little maintenance things you should have been doing, is that really what you want? And I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to.
Yeah,
I'd rather know that my equipment's going to be at peak performance.
mm-hmm. Exactly.
David made a post and said it best, in my opinion. I talk about David Westmoreland, who's runs an outfitter ship in Columbia, Missouri, and takes people to Africa, and he shoots my strings, and
Oh,
he
okay. I know what
pushes
you're
them
talking
out
about
to
now. Yep, I saw that the
yep
other day.
pushes them out to his clients and stuff. Kind of goes back to that marketing thing, but he talks about, I use the equipment that I use, not because it's the most expensive or the flashiest or the biggest name on the market, but because it flat out works. He, talks about how he put my strings on and he set his bow and he took it across multiple continents, from Africa to South America to back to the U.S. to Canada to Alaska, hunting everything on all of those continents you could imagine, from darting a rhino to help with conservation in Africa. He literally got to put a dart on the front of his arrow and shoot a black rhino in Africa to tranquilize it so they could check the vitals, do blood work, and help with conservation in Africa. He didn't kill it because that's illegal.
Mm-hmm.
He actually darted it so he could help with conservation, because that's awesome. And then he got to do all the other safari stuff he was doing in Africa, come back to the U.S. He's hunting down south of the border, hunting in the Midwest in, snow, sleet, rain, whatever. Goes up to Alaska, gets dropped off out in the boonies in an aircraft, comes back to the Midwest, goes up into Canada and hunts, goes out west hunting muleys, comes back here, hunting whitetail, kills a 200-inch whitetail, kills a 170-something inch whitetail, 180-inch whitetail. Then he's got paid hunters, he's TV hunters he's filming with and bringing through, and they're talking about his strings. He's sending them to me because they're having peep rotation issues. He's like, I don't watch this. This string's been on this bow for 12 months. I've been in literally African heat to Alaskan cold, and watch this.
Yeah, and traveled 4,000 miles in 6 months.
Yeah, and watch this. Boom, bullet hole. That string hasn't been touched since the day I put it on it. Perfect timing, perfect peep. The peep stays right where it's at. Boom, I just shot a bullet hole through the paper. Here it is. And and next thing I know, I'm on the phone with these people because they're like, hey, what do we got to do to get your strings on our bow? Because this is awesome. You know, we need this because this is what we do for a living, and we're tired of having to worry about our peeps not being in place and our timing being off and weather affecting it. You know, because they go hunting all these locations and they have to worry about that stuff. And you know, that's the kind of thing that, you know, the average person doesn't necessarily think about like they do because they do it so often. But at the same time, the average person should be thinking about that.
Well,
Because
it's one of those things with that. I mean, I mean, I've listened to some other podcasts and watched hunting shows and do all this and that, but I mean, other than us talking about it, I've never really heard anybody say you should go through and like maintain your bow.
Right. Nobody talks about it that much. Kind of just an unspoken thing.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, and I'll be the first one to admit, I just assumed that unless you started seeing wear and tear on it, on anything on your bow, you know, like it's good to go, good to go, good to go. So I think that's a very, very valid point.
I'm gonna get on my soapbox and start, you know, preaching to the to the choir. But like, you know, when my dad had his shop and I was a kid, and I can remember, you know, all the times we're like, all summer long, nobody come in. We wouldn't see anybody. It'd be slower than molasses in that place. And then August, September, October, you know, it'd be hunting season and guys come walking in the door and their bow had a problem in the tree stand. Missed the buck of a lifetime. The bow, something failed. Man, don't wait till that's what happened. Come see your, you know, find your local bow shop. Come see your local bow. And if you don't have one, find somebody, find a place, or like that, pick up the phone. I'm more than happy to point you in the right direction. I know people, I know dealers. I have my own dealers that deal my bowstrings. And if I don't have one in your area, I know reps in the industry that work with companies like Matthews, Bear, Hoyt, PSE, and I'll pick up the phone and I will call them and I will find you a dealer in your area that is reputable and knows their stuff. And I will work to get you somewhere that can get you taken care of, because I would much rather see people get their stuff taken care of and taken care of the right way. Because at the end of the day, I don't get to hunt much. I think what we talk about, I got to hunt like 6 times this year.
Oh, it was 6. I think the last time I talked to you, it was like 3.
Yeah, I think I finally got like 6 hunts in, but I might have got it up to 10. I don't remember. I kind of lost count, but
well, when you go sit that much, you kind of lose count.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, you know, I get just as much thrill anymore out of making sure that I get people like you and Levi, and you know, I get to live vicariously through my customers, man. You know, I get just as much out of, you know, the message from Levi. Dude, Hex Suit rules, and Dominant Strands is amazing, and I got, you know, I'm knelt down in a field and I just smoked this giant, you know, that's awesome. You know, I'll take that every day of the week. Or Dylan from the Bear Archery podcast, and I sponsor it, and he's messaging me text message and video messages, and he was in the blind with his son. And I don't remember how old his boy is, but he's not very old. He's like maybe kindergarten and preschool age, like not very old. And he got to hunt with him for the first time, with him witnessing him shoot a deer, and that's it was awesome. A buck. And you know, he got to actually see him shoot it, see the arrow hit the deer, see the deer run off and die. Like, it was awesome. And he's, you know, excited and ecstatic, and you know, I think I shared it on our Instagram.
You did.
Might even on our Facebook.
You did.
And you know, he's going nuts.
Yeah.
You know, and that to me, man, I'll take that every day of the week over going hunting. And, you know, some people might think I'm crazy, but that's, to me, that's almost, it's not quite,
right.
It's almost as good as going hunting.
And I just want to go off of that. I mean, just looking through like your Facebook and your stuff like this, I mean, you've had some people that you know that are shooting your stuff. I mean, they've had a heck of a year. I mean, I know you brought up Levi's, but I mean, if you're listening to this one, you need to go back and go listen to the one where Levi talks about his crazy bow kill. But I mean, I want to go back to where you were talking about like being being confident in your equipment and stuff like this. I mean, the way that story came out and went down, I mean, I could not imagine being Levi and then pulling back. And then, I mean, yes, he was covered in his hex and he was all happy and good to go. But like, I mean, could you imagine trying to go through and like have that butt come at you and trying to twist your peep?
Dude, I've been thinking about that for like 15 minutes now. As soon as he was talking about David and the peep twist and all that stuff, I'm like, you know what? What if that was me in that cornfield? The buck's still, coming at me. I'm coming to full draw and my peep's turned, and I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, and then you try to do the stupid, you pull back and you try to roll it with your teeth.
Yeah,
and you're doing all that.
Your nose.
Yeah, something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's just it. You get to have those moments and do those things because you have confidence in your equipment, because your equipment flat out works. And that to me, being able to know that my customers have those kind of experiences and can bring those kind of experiences back to me, man, I'll take that. That's awesome. That every day to hear those kind of stories come back, man, I'll take it. Dude, that is almost, like I said, it's not quite. I'll still take shooting a booner every day. Yeah. Don't get me wrong.
But,
I'm still want to go shoot a booner.
Right. But that's. But
at the same time,
I just wanted to go off again to where like that comes back to your customer service and you like literally backing your company, your brand, you're going through. Like you are definitely passionate about this, and it's this other than Corey, our DRP guy, like you are one of the weirdest people that comes through and talks about like something being excited about. Like you're excited about strings. You know what I mean? But we need people like that because there's people like me that don't know shit about fuck when it comes to it. You know what I mean? But I just.
Well, I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, we talk about. I think you and I've talked about my boy, and I love my son to death, but he is on the spectrum, and most people that meet him don't know that, but he has some Asperger type things with ADHD and OCD and stuff like that, and he gets into certain things, man. When his computer stuff, when he's into that, man, you can't get him off of it. He locks in, and they say it's genetic. And honestly, I'm not saying I've ever been diagnosed, but I mean, it makes me wonder.
Oh no, I see exactly what you're
I dive down that rabbit hole with strings. And let's just say, bows and strings might be my thing, and
we will be more than happy to tell people that you are special. We'll tell everybody we can.
To diagnose that I'm special. Yeah, my wife would tell you that too. But I mean, I'm not going to argue that it's definitely my thing, and it's like I told, I think you and I had that conversation, and when you find that thing you're supposed to be doing, man, you just know it, and things happen and they follow, and I definitely have I fought it for a long time, trying to do a lot of other things, afraid to follow that dream because I was afraid to fail, honestly. And but when I finally made the decision that this is what I was going to do and how I was going to do it, and I was going to let it be what it was going to be, and that if this is what I was supposed to be doing, that it would happen. It would take care of itself. And if I did it and did it right, it would take care of itself. And honestly, it's been absolutely life-changing, life-altering, freeing to be able to do something. It's not. They say if you do what you want to do, you'll never work a day in your life. That's a load of crap, because I work hard every day. Every day. My wife will tell you I am stressed 24/7. I am constantly like bouncing off the walls, trying to worry about something or work on something or whatever, and I work way too hard, way too many hours, but I love what I do. And at the same time, man, it is so exhilarating to get to enjoy what you do. When you get up every day and enjoy what you do, it's so much easier to get up and do it.
Oh, absolutely.
That is a fact.
Absolutely.
And I get up every day coming in here and enjoy coming to the shop. And what do I get to play with today?
Mm-hmm.
You know, who's going to call me and tell me a story about what they shot, or what score they shot, or what dealer's going to call me and tell me this or that, or who's going to call me out of the blue and be like, hey, we heard about your strings from so and so, we want to get hooked up.
Mm-hmm.
Or what podcast do I get to talk to today, and who's the new person I get to meet today?
Right.
And yeah, it's awesome. It's been a wild ride. I can't wait to see where it goes, because it's not done yet. Not by a long shot.
I feel the exact same thing with what me and Levi are doing. I mean, neither one of us are doing this, like you were saying earlier, to like get rich and become all this and that and have all this stuff. But I mean, it's already taken me down a path that I really didn't think that I'd be going down.
Well, when we started, we kind of talked about just, doing some filming here and there. And then one day we're just like, let's do a podcast.
Mm-hmm. And then, it just exploded from there. And I mean, it's, we got to meet you and our other sponsors and things like this. And I mean, and then it just, led from one thing to another thing, to where, me and you talked earlier, and, you're going to go through and sponsor us and stuff like this and hook us up with some, bare bows and all that good stuff. So, I mean, it's growing already. I mean, since we've only been doing this for a year, to where,
right.
I mean, it's just something that I never would have guessed. You know what I mean? I'm some dipshit nobody in the middle of nowhere, and I mean, the only difference between me and Levi is I live in town. He's just a dipshit nobody that lives in the middle of nowhere.
That's right.
Well, and that's the thing, is like, I've been able to not only meet a lot of different people and a lot of different things from a lot of different walks of life and everything else, but also, put a lot of things into perspective too.
Mm-hmm.
Like you and I've talked about my medical history and things with the VA and my military stuff, and fighting my migraines and my service connected stuff that, and then of course my brother and losing him, and man, there's been some rough ride.
Yeah, you've definitely been dealt a whirlwind of shit.
Well, but at the same time, I've been blessed. Like, there's no, like, man, I've been blessed with a lot too.
Correct.
I'm sitting here right now with way more than I should have, and things sitting. I'm sitting in an office in my own business, talking on a podcast about things that I love doing more than anything else, with some guys that I enjoy talking to.
I think your phone cut out, because I thought you said just some two guys. You forgot to say two wonderful, amazing guys. I think your phone must have broke. Your phone must have cut out on that point.
Oh, now I got to go get my waiters. But at the same time, I get to do something I enjoy a lot every day, and literally live the life that I could have. If you'd have told me 10, 15 years ago this is where I would be, I'd have told you were crazy.
Oh,
and yet at the same time, no, I'm not going to say that it's all rainbows and sunshine, but man, dude, this is amazing.
Right.
And like I said, it's still growing. We're not done. This ride's just getting started. This roller coaster is just getting rolling, baby.
Exactly. And that kind of takes me into something else that I want to talk to you about, something, off of the strings and things like this. We've all became good friends through this short amount of time and stuff. I want to go through and talk a little bit about Levi and I coming down, doing some food plots down there, and having you guarantee both of us that we're killing 200s. I'm pretty sure that's what you said.
Yeah, I'm not guaranteeing nothing on that boat.
But I mean, it's just, I mean, just from where you're at to here, you're an hour and some change away, and
right.
Oh shit! I just got a phone call. You still there? I think I hit the wrong button. Oh, no. All right, well, we got a technical malfunction right here. I got to call Lewis back. I thought I hit the right button, and I ended up cutting him off. So...
Hello.
Yeah. So no, I went through. My phone was ringing, and I thought I hit the right end button, and it answered and cut you off.
I was like, and he's gone.
But I mean,
Anyway.
that's something else too. I mean, for where you're at, I mean, we've talked. You know, you're in that special area in the state of Illinois, and I never ever thought that I would have like, even, I guess, be verbally offered to go down, to go. Just go sit into this area. So, you know, it's, you know, people go through and they say, you know, oh, I went to Italy and saw this, and I went to France and saw this and this, but like down there in that triangle, man, that's something that's on my list. And I just, you know, not know anybody, not know any of this and that. And I mean, I'm excited to go through and be part of this. I'm sorry.
Right.
Let me rephrase that. I know that Levi and I are excited to go down and go, you know, be part of this. I mean, it's like you were saying before, if you'd have talked to me about this, I mean, even like you were saying 15 years ago, shit, man, a year and a half ago, from me and Levi even kind of started mumbling, talking about this. It's just, you just never know. But I know Levi goes through, puts in the grind when it comes to this deer stuff. He's taught me immensely about some stuff. I go out there and do this, talk with you and talk with that. It's like you were talking about. Every day is not perfect, but it's crazy how you go through and you work on it and you put in that grind and you work hard. Like I know that I am excited, and I feel like I do this a lot. I feel like I speak a lot for you because I get so excited.
He just kind of sits there and lets you do it.
He does especially because you're one of the few people that talks more than I do.
Got to just let him get it out.
Yeah. So the poor guy, he's not talking because I'm sucking all the oxygen out of the room. But like I know that we are very excited to be on this journey with you. I mean, it's.
I'm glad to have you along. I mean that's the truth. It's always fun, you know. Just like Joey hangs out and helps around here, and you know, it's fun to have when you find the right people to be along for the ride.
Yes.
That aren't just there for the ride.
Yes.
You know, the people that actually want to be a part and actually help, not just ride along and coattail it. Mm-hmm. That's when it becomes fun. When you find the people that are actually there to assist and be an actual functional part of it, man, that's when it gets fun.
Yeah, no, it's definitely special.
Yep, absolutely. So, I mean, did we hit everything? I mean,
you actually did great. I went through and I kept looking at, my tablet here, and I'm going through and checking it all out. And I'm like, oh shit, he's covering that one. Oh, he's covering that. Oh man, he's covering this one. It was awesome. You basically hosted and guessed the whole show by yourself. So it was great. So, but no, matter of fact, you saying that, we're right about the hour mark. Since me and you you talked for 58 minutes, I talked for 2. Levi, do you have anything that you would like to add? I mean, part of this?
I just appreciate everything you do for us. I mean, you know, I had one of the best seasons I've had in a long time. Had, you know, been bow hunting 25 years, had the most incredible bow hunt of my life, and your product performed flawlessly. And I just can't thank you enough for, you know, your product doing what it's supposed to do and finishing the story of that hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad that I was able to be a very small piece of that hunt. I mean, the whole truth is that you still got to make it happen. You got to make that shot happen. I'm glad you chose to make Dominant Strands a part of it, but you know, you still got to make it happen, man. And I'm glad you took me along for the ride. So that being said, hopefully maybe March 8th, 9th, 10th. Don't forget. Everybody come check out the booth, and we'll be there in Peoria at the Illinois Deer Classic. We'll be taking orders, and we'll have some hats and some stickers, and I don't know what else. It depends on what all I decide to throw in the booth to sell.
If they come down to get hats, are they going to get them instantly, or are they going to get them about like 8 months later?
Oh, you had to.
I'll slap him for you.
Nah, just busting your
That's
balls,
fine.
man.
I'll just cut a couple internal strands on his next string and see how that works.
No,
About halfway through his hunt.
I think that is great that you're going down to Peoria. I know we talked about that a little bit, dude. I think you're going to be doing a bunch of handshaking down there. And I mean, it's especially like you talked before, you know, like still being kind of local around, you know, but I mean, people drive from all over to come check these shows out, but
Yeah.
Right.
it's low and slow, as you say.
And it's time for us to start getting a little FaceTime to start really, really letting people. There's still a lot of people that don't know we exist, especially locals that just don't know we're here. And it's time. It's time for us to. We're established well enough now at this point that it's time to start pushing that a little harder.
It's like you said, when you know, you know.
Yeah, and the signs are there. Been watching them happen, and with things going the way they are, it's time to go. Okay, and you know when the Man of Stairs starts like beating it into your head, and the big flashing neon signs are there, you got to finally go. Okay, got it.
Yep.
Before he like hits you with the lightning bolt. Like, all right, man, I got it. Yeah. So, yeah, as long as my hat manufacturer can actually keep up with me, hopefully she hears this and she gets on with it, gets into the hat production. No, she actually, COVID has really, really kicked her butt, and Richardson 112 hats are so amazing and hard to come by that we've really struggled to keep up with that. No, we actually have a pretty decent stock right now, and I already have some on order. So hopefully we'll have enough. I really, it's hard to know. I don't know how many we're going to sell up there, man.
I bet I mean, first thing Levi said when he came in, he's like, dude, that's a sharp looking hat. So I don't think you're going to have a problem at all.
Yeah. So, of course, obviously the focus will be on trying to sell some strings. And get some orders done. We can't build while we're there. It's not like I can drag the shop to Peoria, set it up in an 8x10 booth and build. That's not going to happen. So we're just going to have some displays, some examples, some folks, some bows. You know, whether we get guys like you and Levi or some of our other shooters to bring their bows up there and stuff like that where we can display them, or what we do. I haven't fully decided yet. I do know I've got a couple guys that are going to come work the booth, or have said they could a day here or a day there. So we'll have some people doing that, and I'll be there, of course, to talk everybody's ear off and tell way too much stuff about strings, but talk everybody way above everybody's understanding. But we'll do that, and we'll have some stickers and some stuff like that. But no, I think it'll be good. It'll be good for us to let everybody know we're here, to let everybody know what we're doing, and kind of, let the local public kind of see, hey, what we do, and we're here, and that, there's another player on the block that isn't the big boys with all the advertising power behind them. But guess what? You can get the same quality and the same kind of string. In fact, my personal opinion is that
it's probably better. Yeah, probably better.
Yeah.
So
because you're going to get the customer service and the quality and everything else to go along with it, instead of, here's this mass manufactured production, slap it and forget about you.
Yep. So
yep.
All right, buddy.
Anyway, we'll catch you later, man.
We're getting there.
You guys take care.
Yes, thanks again, Lewis.
Thanks, Lewis.
So
anytime, guys.
Yep. So, all right, everybody, we appreciate you guys for listening. Make sure you go and listen to all of our past episodes and everything like that. Go follow us on Facebook. Go check out Lewis on Facebook, Instagram, see what he's all got going on and everything. So with that all being said, we will catch you on the next